Good morning, guys. All right. So today I'm not going to sugarcoat anything. Not that I'm much for sugarcoating, but you guys pretty much all had the same questions, and I actually have notes to talk about today. This is going to be a very serious one. What you can do is down at the bottom, if you touch this and hold it, it'll give you some options. You may want to save it. I might even put it up on YouTube. So, one of the biggest questions, or biggest fear about food freedom and reintroduction is, well, let's start with reintroduction. So, some of you said you're scared of reintroduction because you don't want to reintroduce stuff and not feel well. If you know that dairy or alcohol or gluten is not good for you, you do not have to reintroduce it at all. You can go the rest of your life without having any of it if you like. You don't have to do that. I will send you the emails for all of the reintroductions, but you do that as you see fit, and you're going to get with me and we'll go over your reintroduction individually day by day. But if you don't want to reintroduce something, don't. You don't ever have to reintroduce sugar. It'll pop up in your world, but you don't ever have to put another teaspoon of sugar in anything if you don't want. Okay? So let's get rid of that fear, because now you may reintroduce something that you're not sure about, and it may cause you some distress. But that's why we have the 2 days of Whole30 compliant foods built in between, to give your body the rest and to put some more healing in between you and your next reintroduction. You can also do the slow roll, which is you reintroduce, say you get finished with your Whole30 and you want to reintroduce legumes, and you reintroduce legumes and it's fine. You could go 2 weeks, you could go 3 months before you reintroduce something else, okay? So that's what the slow roll is. The fast track is the one where you reintroduce something, you have 2 days in between, you reintroduce something. My homework for you today is get your food freedom book out and start reading it. You need to have that read. I would love to have you have it read by Monday. I would read it this weekend, because then we're going to read it again. And I know that sounds silly, but the second time of reading food freedom is life-changing. The first time is just kind of rote, and the second time is magical. So trust me on this, okay? I wouldn't lie to you, would I? All right, so those were most of the reintroduction questions, just fear about feeling poorly. Now, the food freedom ones are, you're going to be done, once you get done with reintroduction, or once you know what food you want to add back in, that is food freedom. Like when you go out to dinner, you don't have to worry about what kind of oils they use. Maybe you use butter instead of ghee in everything. Maybe you add a little rice. Maybe you add a little beans. But you're still going to stay on the same template. You're still going to do 3 meals a day, and you're still going to do protein, veggies, and fat. So in essence, you are doing a Whole30 365 days a year by using the template. Now you're going to add in what is personally nutritious for you, but you're still going to follow that template, and that is your structure. Okay? So, everybody's question was, or everybody's fear was, that they were scared of going off the rails. What happens if they start and can't stop? Just being out of control. So here's what we're going to do. Before we get to reintroduction, so for the next week and a half, You need to figure out your personal rules. You know how good you feel on Whole30. You know all the NSVs you're getting. You know this feels good. Now you may hate these Whole30 rules, but they work, right? So you have to create your own personal rules. Okay? Best way I know how to do this is to give you a for instance. So my rules are, if there's something that's worth it to me, if we go to Roy's, I'm having the chocolate souffle. I'm not going to have cheesecake at the Cheesecake Factory because I don't like cheesecake. I'm not a fan. I mean, I'll eat it if you put it in front of me, but I'm not going to go out of my way to get it. So you have to decide what is worth it for you. And I know you're going to say, but what if everything's worth it? Everything's not worth it. If there's a donut at the break room, you can go any day, 24/7, and pick up a donut. You can go to any gas station and get a Nestle chocolate bar. Those aren't worth it. What you can't get is Aunt Martha's shoe fly pie that she makes every Thanksgiving. That would be worth it. Do you see what I'm saying? You don't waste your worth it on the mundane. You just don't. Because it's not worth it. It's not worth feeling like shit in order to make your psyche happy for 3 seconds. Because you're going to say, oh my God, I want that, I want that, I want that. And you're going to have it. And as you know from past experience, then you're going to be like, why did I do that? For the next day. Okay? So you don't want to set yourself up for guilt. You just don't want to do it. So make sure it's worth it. Now, what if you deem it's worth it, but you're not sure? Many years ago, I read something that said, take 3 bites. Because the first 2 bites are orgasmic, and then the 3rd bite, you're just kind of like, oh, okay, this is okay. Well, I tried that, and it didn't really work for me, because I found out I really wanted 5 bites. So, if you see something that's really worth it, have 5 bites, and then stop and decide, is this worth it even more? And if it's worth it, that's fine. It's okay. Have whatever you want to have, but have your rules in place to mitigate the damage that it does to your body. So if we go to Roy's, which is one of our favorite restaurants, I get steak, which is good for me. They always have great vegetables. So that whole meal is really a good meal, but I have the chocolate souffle. The next morning, I have a Whole30 compliant breakfast, and I have a Whole30 compliant lunch. So my rule is, anytime I have something that's not in my best interest nutritionally, or something that I deem worth it, my next 2 meals are Whole30. And that's my rule, and I live by that. And that's just the way it is. I don't think about it. I don't negotiate with myself. That's just how I live my life. And that's my day-to-day basis. And that's when I travel, too. We'll get to vacations in a minute. You need to set up your rules. And that's going to be your homework. So send me in what your rules are for worth it food. And you're going to send me your rules for vacations. And you're going to send me your rules for travel. Okay. Let's see. I've got here. All right. Holidays are coming up. Somebody mentioned a birthday. Holidays are super easy. You got to get it out of your head that they're hard. Because typically, like Thanksgiving is about turkey, compliant. You can make all sorts of veggies that are compliant. You don't have to have the scalloped potatoes with everything on it. Quite honestly, I fill up my plate with stuff that's good for me, and then I just put a little dab of the pies and whatnot, and I'm happy, and I'm full in like 2 seconds flat. And that's Thanksgiving. So if we have Thanksgiving at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, when I have dinner, if I even have dinner, then I just make sure it's more turkey and more veggies and more fat. Christmas is, for us, it's ham. Now maybe it's a honey baked ham and it's got some sugar on it. When you're in food freedom, you don't really sweat that stuff. You know what I'm saying? It's mostly good for you. You add the veggies and you add a little bit of all the different little things that you want to taste. It's super easy. Remember, the holidays are about socializing. It's about connecting with your family. If everybody's drinking and all this, you have to not give a shit what people think about you, okay? So what if you have a food pusher? You got to try this, you got to try this. Put it on your plate, and if you don't really want it, just act like you ate it. Remember how you used to do that when you were a kid? Or if somebody keeps pushing you, just say no thank you. They push you again, you say no thank you again. If they push you again, I have two foolproof ways to get them to leave you alone. One, you just look at them and you say, I don't want this to be too much TMI, but it gives me a lot of digestion distress or intestinal distress. You start talking about stuff like that, they're going to move on. They're going to leave you alone. Or you can just say, if you want to be a horse's ass, which sometimes I will be, why is it so important to you that I eat this? It's not something I want right now. But the foolproof way is to just say, I'm sorry, it really upsets my stomach and that's not something I want to do right now. And nobody wants to make you sick, right? So you can use that. But you really have to not care what people think. Especially if you got some alcoholics in the family, they're going to push alcohol on you. I'm not drinking right now. Oh, come on, have a drink with us. No, thanks. I'm doing an experiment and that's not what I'm going to do right now. You just have to learn how to say no. And if you find that you can't say no, then you know you have work to do in those boundary areas. And I know this all sounds very hateful, but I'm just laying it on the line because you'll find your triggers and then you'll know what you need to work on. So holidays aren't that big of a deal. I mean, they're one day, really. Now, are you baking cookies and all that stuff the week prior? Have a cookie. Have 2 cookies. Have a compliant dinner, have a compliant breakfast, have a compliant lunch. You go out to dinner with some friends the next day, have what you want to have. Make sure it's worth it. But make sure that you get as many compliant meals in as possible. Okay? Let's talk about vacations. So what happens when you go on vacation? This is my rule for vacation. 7 days prior, I do a reset. I do Whole30 for the 7 days prior. I go on vacation. I have what I want to have. I don't worry about stuff. I try to make as many good choices as possible. I come home. I do 7 more days of Whole30. So I reset before and I reset after. Now, I've been doing this a long time. And I honestly can't eat crappy food. Dropping things. I honestly can't eat crappy food for more than 3 days in a row without feeling crappy. And that will make me straighten myself out. I used to be able to, when I first did Whole30, I did it, and of course I face planted because there weren't that many reintroduction tools like there are now. So I think I probably did Whole30 3 times before I did a proper reintroduction. But the first time I did it, I then face planted and ate whatever I wanted. And I did that probably for 4 or 5 months. And then I did another one and I felt really good. And so then it was a free-for-all for 3 months. And then I did it again. And it was 2 months. And every time I did a Whole30, I realized how good I felt when I ate well. So when I don't eat well, husband's the same way. When we don't eat well, we can only do that for maybe 3 days. And then we're like, okay, I need some real food, or okay, we need to live off the land for a little bit, which to us means being compliant. So the longer you go at feeling good, the less you're gonna want to do damage to your body. So I hope that makes some sense. Again, vacations are easy. You want to reset 14 to 7 days before your vacation because you want to look good for your vacation, right? So that's an easy sell. And when you get back, it's not usually a hard sell to do another 7-day reset just because you want to get back on track, right? Now, while you're on vacation, like I said, if you go out, you're dancing, you have a big dinner that's not like the best, and you have a few drinks, enjoy your life. Enjoy your life. But then go have some eggs and spinach and whatnot for breakfast. You don't need to have the pancakes. There's nothing special about pancakes. Trust me on this. I love pancakes. They're just flour and water. You're not missing anything. You know what I mean? So you'll learn how to run your life optimally. All right, so I've been going on for a while now. Let me know if you have any questions on this. If there's any questions I did not answer, let me know. Ellie was really cute. She said, why can't I have my Siete tortilla chips? They're compliant. And no, it's not because Whole30 doesn't endorse Siete, because they just can't, because they're foods with no breaks. But trust me, all of us Whole30ers support Siete because when we're on food freedom, we eat them. However, plantain chips are also compliant. Siete chips are compliant. There's pork rinds are compliant. But because they typically are foods that you don't stop eating once you start, there's some people that can eat 5 potato chips and put the bag away. Most people can't, so they call them food with no breaks, and that's why they're not allowed. Not because of the ingredients, but because of the behavioral aspect. I will have it known that when I took my Whole30 test, there was a question on what would you change about Whole30 if you had the option. And I said, not tortilla chips, but I said I think that tortillas, if they are compliant, should be allowed. It still hasn't happened, so nobody gives a shit what I say, huh? But anyway, so I want you to start working on what your rules are, and I want you to send them to me, and we'll work on them together. We'll tweak them together. That's what I'm here for, to help you manage your food freedom the best you can. Also, in the next couple of days, I'm going to announce it. I've been teasing it a little bit. But Dr. Vicky and I are going to do a food freedom group. It's going to start October 28th and run right through the day before Thanksgiving or Thanksgiving Eve. And we're going to talk about these things ad nauseum. There will be a Facebook group for it. There will be Facebook Lives. We're going to invite other coaches to talk about their tips and tricks for food freedom. And she's a psychiatrist. She's a psychiatrist. And so we'll hit all the mindset portions of that too. So it's going to be $99, and then we're going to do a early bird special of $75. So I will let you guys know when that is, or when that opens up. You may want to do Whole60. If you want to do Whole60, get with me and let's discuss that. I have another, it's on my shop page on my website, and it's called 30 more, por favor. And it's another 30 days of emails and another 30 days of coaching. So if that's something you want to do, get with me on that. And that's all I have for you guys. I think that was probably enough, huh? All right, hit me up with any more questions, because these are all really good topics and we cannot go deep enough on them. So don't be afraid to ask more, or even the same questions in a different manner or a different aspect of that question. All right, bye guys, talk to you later.